What up, you guys? Welcome back to Furrow Publications YouTube channel, daily uploads topping up my own shop. And today, as always, I started the day by packing orders, getting them ready to get gone, and then also preemptively getting myself ready for orders to come. And I saw on my feed that Jimmy Kimmel was let go. And, you know, I'm going to be honest and just say it, like, I'm not a big Jimmy Kimmel fan. I didn't watch the show. I'm also not a big Jimmy Fallon fan. For me, the one that hurt me was when Stephen Colbert got let go. I'm a fan of Stephen Colbert, and this is a comic book that he wrote, and I think maybe we should look at this eventually because it's fun to check it out, right? The channel does revolve around comic book art for the most part, but like this is a cool text to check out. Maybe he'll go into making comics, but nonetheless, I guess the point is that people that are speaking truth to power are going to start to feel a little more of a squeeze and a pinch. But I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think in the end, freedom of speech is only free if we exercise that. And this is them trying to take away that freedom of speech. And we have to know and understand. And that's why the privatization of like media outlets, right? That's why always working within the mainstream channels of distribution of whatever media is dangerous, because then they own it all, right? It's privatized. So then why do you think they attack PBS, right? And that's why like all this independent stuff matters more now. And that's why I felt emboldened, because I knew that this was gonna come. You know what I mean? I'm a nerdy fella and I read a lot, and I could see and connect the dots. And in my mind, I knew off the back how much more difficult it was gonna be for literature, for books that don't serve the narrative or don't serve the state's propaganda machine, right? Like those things are going to be so much more difficult to find funding, right? Especially when you have an administration that's very emotional. Like, disrespect them and they're going to come after you is ultimately the feeling, the sentiment. And like these corporations, although they may hire people that will speak truth to power, in the end, they do it for $1. They're not doing it because they actually want to speak truth to power, because they're part of the powerful. And that's why independent media matters. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that people or words shouldn't have consequences. I'm not a fan of that. I think words do have consequences. And I think that there is power in words. And so the way you wield that power matters. So be smart, be intentional with your words. That's why it's hard for me sometimes when I hear about bad consequences from people's actions, because in my mind, you write the check that people will cash. You know what I mean? Or as Malcolm X says, just the chickens coming home to roost. You know? And so moving beyond that, like we need to know that, and we need to insulate ourselves and create our own channels of media distribution, right? Of media creation. And that's why, like, for me, it's never a bad thing to know how to make a zine, to get comfortable uploading to YouTube, like all these things, right? And it doesn't even stop there, right? Because like YouTube channels can be censored, right? They almost shut down my TikTok account, right? For a lot of the stuff I was posting. Like that can happen to anybody, anywhere, because these tools of distribution do not belong to you or to me, right? If Elon Musk don't want your ass on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called now, like you ain't gonna be on that motherfucker. You know what I mean? And like that's the problem, that like we keep trying to live inside of their system. And that's why it's much more better and empowering for us to build our own thing outside of that system. But freedom of speech comes at a cost. Freedom of speech isn't free, right? You have to take the squeeze. You have to take the consequences that come with the words that you speak. And guess what? Speaking openly and freely currently might get you in some trouble. And that is obvious by Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and many more that have come to pass, and many more that will come to pass. People that express their sentiment on the Charlie Kirk situation, like a lot of folks lost their jobs as well over that kind of stuff. And it's like I implore all of you guys, do more of that shit. Like fuck them. Like we're not gonna normalize nonsense. And like that's what people should be doing. Like we should be speaking truth to power. And just now, speaking truth to power has become like acts of rebellion, you know what I mean? And like they're gonna come for us because they want to shape the narrative to normalize like this trash ass shit that's going on, right? Now, if we stop speaking truth to power, we're normalizing it as well, and we allow it. And that's why art matters, because like South Park, anyone watching South Park, they're laughing at JD Vance, they're laughing at Trump, they're laughing at the administration, they're laughing at all this nonsense, they're laughing at ICE agents and so on and so forth. They're making fun of the powerful currently, and they're showing the contradictions, and they're showing the lack of sanity in what they're doing. And I'm here for it, and that's what art should be here for. And that's it, man. It's a soapbox kind of video where I just saw this shit and it just made me really just know and understand, like, sometimes I hope to be wrong, right? And this was definitely one of those times where I really hoped that I was going to be wrong, and that making art and speaking truth to power wasn't going to put a target on you. But sadly, it looks like I was correct, and that's why we got to remain in the underground and build from the underground. Build from the underground up. All right? Beyond that, you guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. And guess what? I do this shit daily, so I'll be back tomorrow. Lates.